Captain Fraser from Flag. On the last point, are you suggesting that the new design was flawed?
No. No.
And as far as the hydrocarbons, the people that you spoke to on the ground that are familiar with the operation, were they suggesting that that's normal, but something obviously not wrong? Or is it not normal for the
Yeah, I understand your question. At this point, what we're saying directly is we have witness statements that this processed water was known to contain dissolved hydrogen, hydrocarbons, and H2S. In terms of the design package of information, these are documents that we're requesting, and it's too soon to say whether or not, what the design configuration is from the standpoint of all that data that we are requesting and will review.
No, you answered my question.
I just want to follow up. So I think that she's just trying to understand, and I am too, that what was in there that shouldn't have been in there? What would have made it explode? And I think she's honing in on the hydrocarbons. Is that what should not have been in there? Or can you just tell us what specific things should not have been in there?
I just want to emphasize at this point, this is one scenario that we're looking at. We're providing details to you to let you know that we're going to be examining some specific things and testing to examine this particular scenario further, but we haven't reached any conclusions. But we're going to be doing some testing that we're describing today about the composition of the processed water, etc. And it's too soon to tell, or too soon to say what the intentional design of the process is, because that requires a extensive review of the design information relative to this process unit.
So we shouldn't say there were things in there that shouldn't have been in, and that's why we had an explosion.
I think we can simply say that we have been told by witnesses that those substances may have been present from their experience.
And that concerns you?
That's something we're looking at because one possible scenario, among others, is that there was an internal explosion within the filter vessel. So we're looking for the presence of the fuel, and that's one of the things we're examining.
So the ultra cracker was shut down since 2005, and it was just being started up again, temperature down, in terms of this particular unit?
Yeah, sure. Most of the ultra cracker had been restarted, and had been restarted in early 2007. But there was one compressor that was still undergoing some work. There were some attempts to restart it, and the process of circulating water in the hydrogen scrubber system was the beginning stages of another attempt to start that compressor.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Kristen Hayes with the Houston Chronicle. Don, your mission is to investigate chemical accidents. Given what you've learned so far from witnesses, does that give you confidence that there was chemical presence, and that's why you're doing a full-blown investigation here?
Yes, we think our authority is at play in this incident.
Sir.
Don, I just want to be clear on the filter. Part of what it was supposed to do was filter out hydrocarbons, is that right? Or some of those chemicals being present might be normal, it's just the amounts, or
its purpose was primarily to filter out chlorides and other impurities, but witnesses have stated that there may be other substances present, such as dissolved hydrogen, hydrocarbons, and H2S.
And they shouldn't have been there?
Well, as I stated before, in terms of the design of this particular process unit, what we typically look at is what we call a design package of what each piece of equipment was intended to be used for. And so we have, when we do our investigations, we look for multiple sources of information to verify things, and obviously that's something that's a very important piece of information for us to look at. So it's too soon to say what the intent of the design was until we look at a variety of sources of information.
Can I ask this in a slightly different way? To try and keep you from saying should or shouldn't. Is it normal, though, to have hydrocarbons in that stream. That's what I think we're trying to decide. Is it normal for at least trace amounts of hydrocarbons to be there? As everyone said, possibly the volume fluctuated. So it's not should or shouldn't, but is it just normal that these units do have this in them?
Yeah, I mean, what I'm trying to communicate is it's really too soon for us to state what the normal design of this process is, because we need not only look at documents but past laboratory historical records, etc., in order to flesh that out. And again, this is one scenario among several that we're examining.
Do you know at this point whether people in nearby units and areas of the plant were warned that this unit was starting up, and whether or not they should have been?
That's certainly something that we're going to be examining.
Do we know what Mr. Garcia was doing in the area?
It's really too soon to reveal information relative to those sorts of specifics of what particular people were doing at a particular time.
I noticed you're choosing your words very carefully, but are you concerned with what you've seen since you returned? Do you expect to be back so soon you can investigate?
Anytime the Chemical Safety Board is deployed, we arrive under unfortunate circumstances. And in this particular case, we approach each incident, objectively and look at the facts and go from there. And in this particular incident, we've gathered a certain amount of information, but it's too soon to be able to determine what the causes are or relate them to other events in the refinery.
But the fact that you decided to do a formal investigation, does that mean you're concerned with what you see so far?
I would just like to point out that this is one of several investigations that we're conducting right now in other parts of the industry. So we're trying to do some lessons learned here and prevent this type of tragedy from happening in the future. And we are in the early stages, as Don has said, and there are just things that we don't know yet. And one thing we don't do is speculate. So we would appreciate your understanding that.
Why don't we try to take at this point some questions from the telephone, and if there are still questions in the room, we can come back and take those. So if the operator will see if there are any.
At this time, if you would like to ask a question, press star, then the number 1 on your telephone keypad. If you would like to withdraw your question, press the pound key. We'll pause for just a moment to compile the Q&A roster.